8 o'clock appointment with the engineer from the power company at the property this morning. Getting a little better at driving this road.
I got 324 feet there, and that's probably pretty close. So I'm thinking that's about one span of wire. We like running our spans about 350 feet. We can go over that a little, especially when you're going over a valley like this. So we could probably actually go from there, you know, closer up here to the house. And then what you can do from the house, or from that pole, which would be called your transformer pole, you can go underground to your house. So as long as you stay within 150 feet, you can go underground off that last pole.
Now, what about underground over that way where the trees don't have to come down? Is there a length limit on that or no?
I don't know. I mean, that I'd have to just get on Google and figure it, or get my my little wheel. But I don't want to go over there and walk around on their property without you know, permissions. I'd only be guessing at that point. But I think this is the way you need to go, honestly.
Yeah.
And how much is this per foot? Is there a per foot thing for this?
It's
or?
closer to about $3, $3 to $3.50
versus
so
$12 if it's underground.
Yeah, it's actually a lot less than that by the time you add in the cost of digging and the pipe.
Yeah.
So, but this is a perfect application of going overhead because you're going over a valley here, and once you get these trees cut, it'll be a long time before they would come back, you know, and interfere with the wire and stuff.
Yeah. How cool is that?
Smoking.
Everything was fine this morning with the batteries, and then we're out at the property, and when I came back, I think there's something wrong with the solar. The batteries were at 26 volts or some shit like that. When the solar was, let me turn the solar back on and see what it does. Yeah, it goes really high. Well, that's not really high, but it was high. The other just turned on just now. Yeah, whatever it did, it's a dead battery charge now. So I have the inverter or the generator running right now to add some power back to the batteries, but something completely drained them down. But the solar, I just turned it off. It was, what was it, 26 volts or something like that?
26.2, I think it said.
26, not 2.62, it was 26. As soon as I turn off, the battery voltage goes up to that, which obviously is not good for anything. Turn that off. That's my solar, but that actually shuts everything off there. That shouldn't do that. But now the battery voltage is 2.0. I'm gonna cook something. I gotta figure out what's going on. I ran the generator, charging those batteries for a little bit, and it looks like they're gonna hold a good voltage now. They're actually powering. Nope, the fridge is off. Okay, now the inverter's on. I wonder what a load's gonna do to them. Which they're not 100% charged, but okay, go ahead and start the generator. We're gonna hit them with a charger for a while, but they're actually holding voltage. That's better than what it was doing earlier. It immediately go to 0 or 3. It takes a minute after the generator starts before the transfer switch hits over. I originally disconnected half of my battery bank. I have 1,500 amp hours available. I have it on 2 separate banks, but I took off about 600 amp hours just to see if it was one section of batteries that were the problem. But that other section started taking a charge, and as soon as I hooked the other ones back up, it took a charge. So there goes the charger kicking in. Just let that run for a while. So it sounds like the solar controller crapped out and overcharged the batteries seriously, 22 volts. And they didn't like that, and I'm surprised they came back from it, honestly. Walking along on the property, and I look down and I see something catches my eye. I'm like, oh my God, it looks like a couple of fingers, 3 fingers laying there. I'm sure it's just poop with something in it there, but it looks like it's got fingernails on it. That's what made me look down like, whoa. That's funny. Turd art. My oil pressure just dropped a few PSI there. I'm normally about 42, 44, and it looks like it's about 35, 38 right now. I saw it bounce around. Let's see if it comes back up here, but I'm gonna pull over and check it out. I'm assuming we just maybe got a little bit of an oil leak back there now. So I lost my gauges like a hawk. So I dropped down, then it bounced back up, then it dropped down. Now it's kind of staying there. So keep an eye on it here. We got an exit coming up in about 2 miles. That's safer than pulling off on the side of the highway, but we'll see. I don't see any big oil leaks. Nothing really hitting the ground. You see a drip of oil on there. Usually the back would be all covered with oil if it had a big leak. Alright, my oil pressure's back up here. I'm going to drive in and do that at once. So I normally run there about 44 or so, 45. It was just a little bit low on oil. I don't fill it until it gets to the add line, and it was about a quart below the add line, which we were leaning to the right where we were just at, so it probably was only, and it's always been that way. When he gets down to that add mark, I start to lose a little bit of oil pressure, and it just lets me know that it needs to be filled. So he's doing good now. I'm not worried about him. Probably consuming a little more oil than I want to. Last time I filled it, or even, yeah, it was when we were at Lance's. So we went from Lance's to Ohio, Ohio to North Carolina, North Carolina back to Indy, and then Indy down here. So hell, that's probably 2,500 miles, I bet. You think? 6, 12. No, not that many. Maybe 15, 1,700 miles, something like that. So it's using a little bit more than what he had been, but that's not too bad. I don't see many leaks back there. There was no big puddle or anything, which normally that would be a sign something's going on. Nothing coming out of the airbox drains. Got plenty of power. He's doing good, but today he just don't like me today. Everything's going on. You know, this week, I guess, with the generator and then now the solar charger and the those batteries, I think, are screwed. They're holding voltage, but there's like no amps on them. If I put any kind of an amp draw on them, my inverter craps out for low voltage. And so I think my solar thing went out, the charger went out. That took out my batteries. That's a lot of batteries. We'll see. They're all wet on top. It's all acid and stuff, so I didn't want to try to touch it. Once I get where we're going, I'll try to investigate a little further. I got a load tester with me, I think. One of them days. I just had a modern Greyhound bus try to pass me. And Lenny was like, "Oh, Dad," I heard him say it, man. So I got back on the throttle and left him in my best. He's about a half mile behind me now. Lenny didn't want the shame of letting that modern little young dude pass him on the highway. says bass fishing like a giant pyramid.
Looks like a deck thing up on top of the rounded.
MISSISSIPPI. Welcome to Arkansas. Is it supposed to be Arkansas? So we made it to Denmark, Arkansas, and I got Lenny's parked over here. We got lots of horses around. But it's a pretty 4104. And to help my friends who don't know how to tell the difference between a 41 and a 4106, a 4104 has the windows are skinnier. They usually have the rear access door, although we've worked on a few that are missing back there. And the rear end is really curved on this. Of course, these are typically 671s. That's what they came with, but a few people have converted them to other things. And the front's a little bit more rounded as well. It's in nice shape. Unlike this truck that is not in nice shape. This thing got squished. Phew. Hope he wasn't driving that. Watch out for the horse crap. But that's pretty, huh? Lenny and the moon. Well, that was a crazy day today. First thing, we met with that engineer from the electric company out there, and we can get power. We always knew we could. There's an easy way, a hard way, and an expensive way. Well, there's two expensive ways. The easiest thing to do is to get an easement from our neighbor and come across their property. We can come in through the trees, but in order to do that, we have to remove 40-foot wide swath of trees. And that means from the ground up, so if there's any branches overhanging into that 40-foot wide thing. So really you're clearing about 60 feet of trees. Excuse me. I don't want to ask my neighbor to give me an easement and then let me remove 60-foot wide path of his trees on his property. So we can get an easement on his property. It's the very back corner of his property, which is just a little sliver of, he's got grass back there, but there's nothing else in it, where we can go underground, and it's like $12 a foot for probably about 400 feet, 450 feet maybe, to do that. And I'm hoping that he'll do that. I've not met the neighbor yet, and I don't want to be the guy that calls him on the phone and says, hey, I want to do an easement through your property. So I want to, meet him face to face and talk to him and see if he'll approve that. I know it's a lot to ask, so, and if he says no, I'll be disappointed, but you can't be mad at somebody for not offering, not doing that. The other way, if he doesn't do the easement, then we have to come in from the front of our property, which is close to 2,000 feet, I think that it would have to be run, which is a long, long way. And it's up a very steep hillside that we would, again, have to clear the 40-foot wide path of trees. It's very heavily wooded. So technically, that means clearing about 60 feet of trees wide up the whole hill. And then in order to do that, they have to get a permit from the state of Tennessee to close the highway, because they'll have to pull the wire across the highway. And when they do that, they have to close the highway. So he says they'll do it. Tennessee will do it. It's not the easiest thing to get, and they got certain times and let you do it. But by no means is that the way. I don't want to clear that many trees on the property to begin with. So I'm really hoping the easement thing works. If the easement thing doesn't work, I think we're probably going to go with a pretty big solar bank, and then maybe a wind turbine up there too for now. Cost wise, I think will be about the same. And then later figure out what we want to do. And then that was all. I was so excited. You know, if that doesn't happen, we'll just do solar and wind power. And we're on top of a hill. I think we'd be okay to get at least one wind device up there. And then that's when I came back down to the bus, and my solar on my bus had crapped out, and I can't believe more stuff's not damaged. The batteries are not good, but I haven't tested them yet. I didn't even check because they were just covered in water that boiled out of them. Well, acid. We'll call it water, but it's acid. Say what it is. I have distilled water with me where I can fill them, but I need to check the balance in it. I want to load test them too, but you know, they're holding voltage, but they're not holding amps. And that's going to really suck if that's bad. I can get by with it for right now, but we're going to leave it on the charger tonight, and then we'll just see what it does. I'm not having a lot of faith in that. We were wanting to go with lithiums, anyways. Just didn't want to spend the money on that right now. So just one more thing to go wrong. But I definitely need a new charge controller for the solar. That's a Renogy, I think is the name of the brand on it, and it's an MPPT, or I don't know enough about solar, but I've had it's probably like 4 years old, so I'm sure it's not under warranty or anything. That was just disappointing. And then the bus ran great today. Just needed to add a little bit of oil to it once it. I think that maybe, like, if you remember, there was a crack in my pickup tube, the top of that, and we welded it up, but maybe perhaps the crack grew on it again. So it's supposed to suck from the bottom of it, so that's about an extra inch of oil on there. So I'm going to assume that maybe that has happened again, so it can suck a little bit of air through there. So when the oil gets down below the add mark, I start losing 2, 3, 4, 5 psi of oil pressure. But I monitor my gauges like crazy. I'm going to stop running it low like that near the add mark. I'm going to keep running it towards the full mark now, so that gives me an extra inch in there. And then I shouldn't have that issue again. But it didn't hurt anything. Like I said, I always keep a close eye on it, as you know, and everything's fine. So tomorrow we're going to get into this 4104, take it for a test drive, get into the engine on it, check out a few other things. So we're going to come back and probably do an in-frame on this at some point. But we're really just going through and checking things out and getting a close look at the bus. But it's a nice looking 4104, and it should be a good day tomorrow. Nice weather, temperature in the mid-50s, and get a good night's rest here tonight. And hopefully my batteries, I can take a few minutes and check those out tomorrow.